caltrop is an area denial weapon designed to stop the enemy. The caltrop is a sturdy, simple, yet effective weapon no matter its position. Its purpose was originally designed to stop elephant and donkey attacks. It graduated to stopping tanks. And now, the caltrop is your defense against propaganda, polished lies, and manufactured outrage. It's free from counterfeit credibility and synthetic truth. However, inside the walls of a caltrop, you're going to be forced to think. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Mike Calderese is the caltrop.
Good evening and welcome to the Caltrop. I'm your host, Michael Calderese. It is a wonderful Monday coming off of football Sunday where the Giants were pathetic once again. And I'm going to be honest with you. I am not like Erika Kirk in that regard. I am not going to forgive Daboll. I am not going to forgive Schoen for getting rid of Saquon Barkley. I'm not going to forgive him for getting rid of Daniel Jones, who's 3-0. And just so everybody knows, I predicted it, and I said it again. Daniel Jones can fucking play, and my football rant is now over. So I do welcome everybody to the show today. Today we have a packed show. It's going to be filled with a bunch of different things. I got a lot of things late because they went on way later than they were supposed to. If you haven't heard, big news is broken, and it's already it's funny that the reaction that's already happening behind it. But they have revealed that they think they could perhaps have a reason why autism exists. So we're going to get into that. That is actually big. We have a lot on that because there's a lot to this. They're actually making a number of different claims, vaccine claims, certain medicine claims, and also medicine claims that if you do have an autistic child, they are claiming that there's a potential treatment for it in the form of another drug. You know how I feel about all of it. We're going to get into all this stuff, whether I believe it, whether or not. And just the idea of, it's more drugs to fix problems with drugs. It's all of this is going to get into what my monologue's about in the Mike's Right section, because we put a lot of faith in everybody. We put a lot of faith in people. And there's a lot of faith that's going on right now. And there seems like there's a lot of forgiveness going on right now. But it's a very tricky situation just to forgive and to have some blind faith. And when your faith and the forgiveness and things that go wrong because of the faith that you have that has been failed, what comes out of that? And I'm trying to rectify all that in my head, and we're going to work through it hopefully today. And we're obviously, I have to cover it just because there was some things that happened. It was gigantic news. And we had the Charlie Kirk funeral. That was, listen, say what you want to say about the guy. If I got that type of funeral at when I left, where the vice president, the secretary of state, the president, you name it, mega stars were they. I mean, it was just it's something we obviously have to talk about. I have some clips for that as well. And obviously, if we have enough time, I'm actually going to get into Jack versus Mikey Sherrill. They had a debate. And the reason why I'm going to play this on a national stage is because a lot of times you don't see what these governors and these governor candidates are arguing about. A lot of the blame, I want to show it to you just to show you that it's a lot of the same stuff. It's a lot of platitudes. I will give Jack a lot of credit. Jack, I think that was the best I've ever seen him, the calmest. Mikey Sherrill clearly has absolutely nothing to say, but it's your typical politician versus politician saying things. There's things I really like that they said. There's things I really hate that they said. But if we have time, we are going to get into it. But let's not even delay this anymore. Let's get to the Mike's Right. Shut the fuck up and listen. All right, everybody. So today I legit saw something that just had me dumbfounded. And it was Erika Kirk, Charlie's widow, looked up and forgave his killer. Like straight up forgave him, looked the world in the face and said, "Young man, I forgive you." And to me, it was incredible. Now, let's be real here. Would you be able to do that? Because I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't. I probably couldn't do it. And if I'm being brutally, disgustingly honest, it almost turned me off. You know, when I saw it, not because of her. I mean, she's an amazing woman to be able to do that. It was absolutely amazing. But because of me, I don't know why it turned me off. It just did. And I literally looked at my wife and said, if you forgave the man who killed me, I don't think you loved me. Like, you didn't love me at all. Now, I realize that makes me sound like the biggest asshole in the room, and some call me the whole ass, taint and all. But it's like, sorry, Jesus, man, you must have skipped me on Forgiveness Day camp. But that was the truth. That's how I felt. I don't know why I felt it. I mean, the whole thing gave me some vibe, the same vibe that I got when I went to the vigil in Brick. And, you know, you had the candles, you had the singing, you had the praying. Half of me felt very uplifted, and the other half felt like I accidentally wandered into a religious-themed episode of The Twilight Zone. And I really couldn't figure out why I was turned off. For some reason, I was very turned off at times. Was it because of the overtly religious stuff? Was it because every politician suddenly became Billy Graham with a microphone? Maybe. And then everyone starts calling it a revival. It's like, let's slow down, people. It's a funeral. It was a vigil, not season 2 of The Chosen. And let me say everything very clearly. This isn't an attack on Erika. She's incredible, nor is it an attack on anyone else. I mean, and she did something that I clearly could never do, and I don't think many people on this planet can. But because she did that, I still have questions. Like, how do we simultaneously say that this is evil while also saying it was part of God's plan? Which one is it? Because my warped brain goes, if it's God's plan, then didn't he technically kill Charlie? And if evil exists, didn't he create it? You see where I'm going? That's just me thinking. I brought it up to a Jewish customer of mine, and he goes, "Mike, you're trying to rationalize things too grand to understand." And I know I've said this stuff before, but it bears repeating. I mean, which that's okay. But that's a nice way of telling me to shut up and stop asking questions. I respect it, but I'm stubborn as fuck, and I want answers. Because here's the truth. I have faith in one thing and one thing only, and that's myself. Descartes said, "I think, therefore I am." And that's kind of where I land. I'm here. I think, I question, I joke. That's what I know. But organized religion, I never saw the point. Faith in people, to me, that's set up for a disappointment because people fail constantly. We put faith in politicians, they fail. We put faith in doctors, they fail. We put faith in the church. Boy, did they fail. We put faith in science, they gave us COVID and Tylenol. And now they're telling us Tylenol might cause autism. Great. But take 2 and call me in the morning unless you want your kid to build a rocket ship in a living room. But now I'm stuck with all these questions. I mean, if we're supposed to forgive, where do we draw the line? I mean, do I really forgive the food companies for poisoning us with seed oil soup? Do I forgive the FDA or the CDC or the NIH for being lobbyist sock puppets? Do I forgive the politicians who built the environment where Charlie was killed? Do I forgive Biden for letting kids rub his hairy legs down in the pool and then watching them stand back up again? I mean, do I forgive Epstein? I mean, that's a hard fucking no. See, maybe I got too much Old Testament in me, the eye for an eye. That's where my head goes, which is ironic because it's interesting watching people quote the Bible verses that fit their mood. It's like, turn the other cheek, yeah, unless you slap me twice. That is straight fucking Leviticus. But here's the question that I say all that to get to. I do want people to come together. And if I want people to come together, does that happen through forgiveness or through vitriol? Because so far, forgiveness hasn't started the fire. Now, vitriol, what has that done? That seems like it lights everything on fire. Forgiveness lit a candle. I mean, maybe, you know, some even had Yankee ones if they were feeling fancy. But here's the thing. Maybe that's the point that I'm missing. Maybe that's the lesson here. That even if I don't fully get it, what she did, faith is still better than nothing, right? Some belief is better than no belief, and some forgiveness spreads love instead of hate. Because let's be real, we've seen what hate brings. I mean, just look around. It's ugly, it's constant, and it seems like it's tearing us apart. So maybe forgiveness is the better play. Not because it's easy, not because it feels natural, but because if Erika can forgive the man who murdered her husband 2 weeks after he did so, then what the hell is our excuse the rest of us have? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying run to Jesus like he's the fucking ice cream man. But maybe don't let hate turn you into more hate and turn into more hate after that. Because, yeah, faith is complicated. Forgiveness is complicated. But hate, that seems very simple. And it's killing us. So maybe it is time to forgive. Maybe it is time to put a little faith in humanity. Because if she could do that, then every single one of us is capable of at least something close, right? And I guess that's worth thinking about, even if I don't understand or even agree with it. I mean, hopefully her message was the message that the world needs. And I can tell you something, she could have said something very different there that day. And she didn't. And whether you think that she's telling the truth, whether she really forgives this man or not, that's not the point. The point is that she set the table that I think a lot of us should look to follow. And I don't think you have to get Jesus involved. I think this is just basic humanity. So that's the Mike's Right. Hope you listen. All right, everybody. I hope that you listened to that one, guys, because I'm going to be honest with you. It's it's been an interesting. The last couple of weeks have been interesting, and then I watched that Sunday night, and Sunday was interesting because I'm going from football to Charlie Kirk's funeral to Jack Chitterelli and all. I think that was what, Saturday night, maybe that was Sunday night too. But I went through all this stuff, and it was like drinking out of a water hose. But there was at times, and I want you to put it in the chat because I'll read them off today. We don't have as nearly as much going on as we did Friday. If you missed Friday, you're going to want to go back and listen to that one. That was fireworks. That was awesome. But could you forgive? I mean, really, could you forgive? And I made a whole list of stuff like should I forgive the politicians who forced us all into lockdowns and put masks on our face and forced our kids into a lot of the situations that they're in now? I mean, do we forgive these people? It's almost like selective forgiveness. I'm thinking because I need your help on this. I really, truly, truly need your help on this. I don't know. I don't want to forgive those politicians. I don't want to forgive Anthony Fauci. Do I want to forgive and forget that stuff? But then once again, I am pulled in such a weird thing. Because if I forgive, right? So I watch this all the time. And I don't mean to bring up anything, but I watch, how do I put this? Members in my own family, not close family, but people I watch in my family. I watch them forgive. And I watch them be very religious. And I watch them get taken advantage of over and over and over and over again. And through the forgiveness and through that, it doesn't seem like the people around them get better. But I don't know what it is. Maybe it feels makes that person feel good. So you could see where I'm going with this. I'm clearly conflicted with my thoughts on this. And I think that's why I felt so disgusting. I think and while I was watching parts of this, and if I'm being honest, I kind of felt a little disgusting at times watching Erika speak. And I don't know why. I feel like a fucking jerk off. Trust me. I feel like an asshole. But I looked at my wife. I'm like, I feel creepy as fuck. Something's just creeping me out about this entire thing. Maybe it's every part of it, from watching them to every part of it. It creeped me out. But I am dealing with this dichotomy of forgiveness. Because you see it work and you see it don't work. Maybe it works for the macro and doesn't work on the micro. Maybe on the micro, we have to fight, but on the macro, they have to forgive. I don't know. Like, forgiving that, is it only good for, is forgiving Charlie's killer only going to be good for Erika Kirk and not everybody else? Do you know where I'm going? But if you look at that, the thing that flies in the face of that thought I just said is the fact that you watch all that love be in that room and be at these vigils all over the country. Now, did every one of those people have forgiveness or have hatred in their heart? I don't think they have hate. I think that all came out of love. I think everybody that did that came out of love. So it's an listen, I'm telling you, like I said, I need your help on it. I need your help figuring this out. Because I definitely struggle with this type of stuff when, and just to give you my background for a lot of the new listeners, I grew up in a Catholic school. I grew up going to Catholic college. I took 3 years of theology in school. And the thing that made me lose faith in organized religion in the first place was the fact that everything I was told as a kid, right? I had faith in my teachers and my Catholic school teachers to read me a passage in the Bible and they tell me what they think it meant. And then I go to college and I realize when I start reading it for myself and I'm taking theology from the guy who teaches the priests, because I went to Mount St. Mary's College and Seminary where they taught the priests how to be there. So I learned that theology, and then I started reading the Bible for myself and understood it in a totally different way than what they told me. And I felt like they were lying to me. Now, were they really lying? Maybe, possibly. Some of those people clearly have an agenda, or maybe that's just the way it meant to them. But it felt like I was being lied to the entire time, but everything I was being taught. So that's where my faith kind of goes. I watch the priests. I watched the seminarians. They had an AAU basketball team. And when you played against the seminarians, they were the dirtiest fucking players that you played against. You go up for a layup, they ran right under your legs. They were just dirty people. If you see the line of the seminarians during lunch, right? So the seminarians are way out here. They were trying to get to school or go to lunch. The seminarians would be in a line. You had a full sprint to beat their line because they wouldn't even let you in between them. They stayed in the line, and you had to wait to either the end of them or the front. So you had a sprint to beat these people. And you had to see them. It was like they were like in a traffic jam. It wasn't because they were being told, hey, don't let anybody in line with next to you. They just didn't want to get you in front of them. So they were like butting like balls to asses on the guy in front of you, if you know what I'm talking about. That's what it was like. So listen, that's my perspective. So when I see that stuff where it's like, I don't understand how we blame evil, but then submit to God's plan. I don't see it could be both. And I think that's the part that turns me off when I hear it. And that's the part that I need your help with. I know I've asked this question several times, but I do kind of need your take on this. Now let's get to a couple things, because I'm going to tell you something. When you're at an event like this, there's a lot of people that were saying it was like a campaign rally. I got a lot of people that were talking about how horrible Trump was, and all he did was talk about himself the entire time. Clearly, you people didn't listen to what he says. You listened to 2 clips, and you got some weird impression of it. But it was kind of a rally-ish, but it had to be. People, it had to be. You can't just sit there and fucking cry for 5 hours or whatever this was. They had music. They had everything. And yes, you have to have a little bit of humor. And Don Jr. started it off with his Donald Trump impression. Here's this.
Dear friends.
Being a sentimental guy. Anyone who's seen me on social media knows I'm far more likely to crack a joke or get myself in trouble for posting some grossly inappropriate memes than I am to shed a tear. I know this because I've even gotten the call from that guy a couple times. You know, Don, you're getting a little aggressive on social media, Don. Relax.
Don, getting a little aggressive on social media. I like it. That's a little icebreaker. He came out. You listen to some of the people that were there. They said you could feel the energy in the room. Some people were like, I could just feel the Holy Spirit in me. Lord, please. Praise Jesus. Some people were like that. I was like, all right, cool. They felt the Holy Spirit, Holy Spirit when they were in there. And then Don Jr. goes on to make another little joke. Here's this one.
So I want to start where I know Charlie would want me to, with what was most important to him, and that was his relationship with Christ. To say Charlie knew more about the Bible than me is an understatement, folks. It's like saying Donald Trump knows more about being president than Hillary Clinton or Kamala Harris.
So there you go. So let me get to a couple chats here, right? So Yankee 68 says there is forgiveness and there is the law. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely forgiveness and there's a law, and I hope the law really goes after him because I hope the law has zero forgiveness. We'll leave that for Charlie Kirk's wife, man. Mama Duke says Rumble is a bitch to get you, Mike, but their commercial went through 3 times with no problem. Oh yeah, that's what they start doing. Listen, when you guys start watching, it gets hot. The show is starting to heat up. The Caltrop is on fire. Thanks to you guys. Really appreciate it. So yeah, I mean, they're going to start popping us full of commercials. That's when we're starting to do something, let's see. I like this. 6is Designs. 6, tell me if I'm reading this right. 6, it's SIXSIS Designs. You cannot forgive people that you want dead. The whole turn the other cheek shit is an absolute worst thing you could do. They will only do it again and again. Passiveness gets nowhere. And I'll read one more because I like it. It says, personally, I will never forgive anyone that was to kill my family or very much a loved one. And then goes on to say, good point, maybe for her, but not for the millions that are at risk of having the same thing done as that demon. And now listen, man, I think I agree with every single one of the things that you said. Oh man, I'm not a forgive type person. And let's be very honest. Like let's just take the situation I was in with my previous show. I got screwed out of a lot of things. Do I just forgive that dude and say, oh no, man, I forgive you. It's cool. Now I'm just going to go on like nothing ever happened. I think that's a coping mechanism. I think religion in of itself a lot of times is a coping mechanism, and that's cool. If that's how you cope. Some people cope with weed, some people cope with heroin, some people cope with Jesus. All right. And I didn't mean to compare the two. Listen, I put them in a freaking really weird order, right? It's obviously Jesus, weed, then heroin, or weed, Jesus, heroin. However you rank them. I'm just saying. I couldn't forgive like that. I definitely couldn't. PT Pod, what's up? My man Fresh Mike says, I think it's a matter of defense and wisdom. I will happily watch him get his justice while understanding he is forgiven, but justice is also from God. Oh man, I don't know, man. The real Michael Goins said, do you remember the top 10 reasons we hated the seminarians on our radio show? That's right. The real Michael Goins, you saw him on the show a week ago. He was one of the hosts on the radio show with me. We did the top 10 reasons why we hated the seminarians. Those guys were just the biggest bunch of assholes. And Coach Patterson says, I'm not good with anyone that takes another person's life. If that don't mean shit to you, nah, not me, let alone a family member. Yeah, man, I don't know. My last thing on this, I'll play one or two more of these. Because I want your take on the vibe of some of this stuff. Okay. A lot of people had a problem with this quote by Trump. He came out and said this.
He did not hate his opponents. He wanted the best for them. That's where I disagreed with Charlie. I hate my opponent. And I don't want the best for them. I'm sorry. I am sorry, Erika. But now Erika can talk to me and the whole group, and maybe they can convince me that that's not right, but I can't stand my opponent.
I can't stand my opponent. I hate my opponent. Now, listen, I played a lot of games. There were certain teams that I definitely hated. The 100% certain teams that you play every year, like Manchester. I hated Manchester. I wanted to kick the shit out of them more than anybody else. There were some people that, I didn't hate, but I don't like at the time when you're playing somebody. Now, in my older age, if I play someone in cornhole, I like the person. I'm actually cheering for the person while I'm playing against them. So it's a very weird thing that I'm going through. But he says something there and people lost their minds over it. Oh my God, Trump is talking about himself on how he hates his opponents. And again, this is where the media lies to you. Because when I saw that clip, I was like, oh man, that was a fucked up thing to say. Like, that's not really called for in this moment, right? But when you listen to what he said before and what he said after, he was praising Charlie the entire time. What he was saying was Charlie was he was a better person than me. People thought Trump was talking about himself. He wasn't. He was talking about Charlie being better than him in that moment, because he said Charlie just did it. He also went on to say, I call people the crazy left. I call them crazy left lunatics. Charlie just calls them the left. So when he was referring to himself as the maniacs out there that just want to see the bad in everything that Trump does say, oh, look at this asshole just talking about himself again. But that's not what he was doing. He was actually degrading himself and propping Charlie up. And people didn't realize it. And he said a couple different things. This is one of the things that I want, please respond with. Because this is the one part I would say that of everything he said, I thought was very good. This was the worst part of the speech.
Our entire nation. That was a horrible attack on the United States of America. It was an assault on our most sacred liberties and God-given rights. The gun was pointed at him, but the bullet was aimed at all of us. That bullet was aimed at every one of us.
I don't know how I feel about it. You guys know, I partially agree with the rhetoric side, but I don't like what's said. Like, that bullet's aimed for all of us. It gets people in a fighting mood when you say some shit like that. And once again, to me, that's conflicted with kind of what Erika was saying, but that was kind of the cool part about that. They allowed a lot to take place, and obviously Turning Point USA put that thing together. But this is probably the best thing that Trump said throughout the entire thing, the most profound thing. And I'm not sure if ChatGPT wrote it for him or he wrote it himself, but I liked it.
If speech is violence, then some are bound to conclude that violence is justified to stop speech. And we're not going to let that be justified.
Did you hear that? I think I want to play that again. Listen close.
If speech is violence, then some are bound to conclude that violence is justified to stop speech.
If speech is violence, he had to quote this from somebody, then some are bound to conclude that you could use violence to stop speech. I think that's very true right now. And, that's one of the best things I think that was said throughout that entire event. Then you had people like Stephen Miller. If you want to hear Stephen Miller went off that you are nothing. I typically don't like this guy, but I did like this message, so I'm going to play it.
We will prevail over the forces of wickedness and evil. They cannot imagine what they have awakened. They cannot conceive of the army that they have arisen in all of us. Because we stand for what is good, what is virtuous, what is noble. And to those trying to incite violence against us, those trying to foment hatred against us, what do you have? You have nothing. You are nothing. You are wickedness, you are jealousy, you are envy, you are hatred. You are nothing. You can build nothing. You can produce nothing. You can create
nothing. So I like that. You are jealousy, you are envy, and you are all those things. And let's face facts. I think that hits the point that whatever happened, I think all those things come from, really those type of 7 deadly sins. But I'm going to end it with this. And honestly, I don't want to put this behind us. We're going to be coming back to this, but I do hope that this could put a lid on it. And not, I sound like a dick. We have to remember this going forward, obviously. We have to never forget this, kind of like we say 9/11, but yet we have forgotten. But talking about it every day, honestly, it's eating away out of me. I got to get the image of him being shot out of my head. So I'm going to end it with Elon Musk And I think he sums it up perfectly.
Why was he killed?
He was killed because his words made a difference. Because he was showing people the light. And he was killed by the dark.
So he was killed by the dark. Now I'm going to read the comments, then we're going to move on to the vaccine thing. He says, Mama Duke says, I love Trump. Yankee 68 says, love my president. Listen, he took a lot of shit online. I actually had text messages from people, usually on our side, saying, oh my God, Trump has to make it all about him again. And I think those people watch clips. And if you just take a clip of what Trump says and you don't hear the front and back about it, he is somebody that you could really clip and totally lose the meaning of what he's trying to actually say. I do love my. Oh, am I frozen? Okay, I'm not frozen. All right, good. It looks like I was frozen there for a second. PT Pa or Coach Patterson says turning a memorial into a campaign rally is terrible. There were other parts that he talked about campaign promises. Focus on the dude everyone should be there for. So I think you're wrong with that. First off, Turning Point USA is the one that made it. He turned it into a campaign rally, and what you don't realize is he was talking about accomplishments, and he was crediting Charlie for those accomplishments because he was saying the entire time that MAGA and him being elected would not have been possible without Charlie. And that's, again, you have to get away from the clips, and you have to watch the entire 40 minutes. He said Charlie 487,000 times. I had the counter. Six Design says it was kind of a rally cry. I suppose that could be both positive and negative. Yeah. I mean, listen, I told the Brick Republicans, and I told, I'm telling now the Republicans now, I hope they don't overplay this Charlie hand, as it seems like they're trying to. And I really hope that they don't fuse Christianity with the Republican Party, and we're going to be fighting theocracies on all fronts. That is really what worries me. Jersey Abe says they murdered Charlie, a Looney Tune leftist, tried to shut our mouths. Anyone who thinks it was a rally is an idiot and should go suck on the Democrat balls. I fucking love it. And then Jersey Abe says a bunch of other shit. Jay Calvin clearly agrees with him. So that, everybody, is that the one thing that was glaring that everybody was talking about. The last point I will make on this is, where were the Democrats? There wasn't a Democrat there. So, there was a lot of people that still bash our mayor and said, oh, what else was she going to do? She had to be there. No, she didn't have to be there. Like every other Democrat that is out there that didn't partake in this, and just show a little bit of grace to the other side. They are drawing battle lines as well. So I guess we have to draw the battle lines with them. So let's get to autism. This is Trump on autism.
Professionals, as we announce historic steps to confront the crisis of autism. Horrible, horrible crisis. I want to thank the man who brought this issue to the forefront of American politics along with me. And we actually met in my office, is it like 20 years ago, Bobby? It's probably 20 years ago in New York. I was a developer, as you probably heard, and I always had very strong feelings about autism and how it happened and where it came from.
So I like it. So, I mean, if you go back to Trump in the 1980s, 1990s, this was something he was talking about even back then, but it wasn't as big of a problem back then. Then you get into 1990, 2000, and it seems like it has skyrocketed. This is Trump on the meteoric rise. Listen to the numbers that they give.
The meteoric rise in autism is among the most alarming public health developments in history. There's never been anything like this. Just a few decades ago, 1 in 10,000 children had autism. So that's not a long time. And I've always heard, they say a few, but I think it's a lot less time than that. It used to be 1 in 20,000. Then 1 in 10,000, and I would say that's probably 18 years ago. And now it's 1 in 31, but in some areas it's much worse than that, if you can believe it, 1 in 31. And I gave numbers yesterday. For boys, it's 1 in 12. I was told that's in California, where they have for some reason, a more severe problem.
So 1 in 12 kids, they say, have autism. Now, listen, I bring this topic up because the fact that we get told about autism all the time, that we have no idea why it happens. We know it doesn't, we know what doesn't cause autism, supposedly, but we don't know what actually causes it. And you have parents out there, you have moms, you have people that want an answer to this question. They really want an answer to this question. So they think they have an answer. And the answer that they gave is acetaminophen. And it's funny because Trump couldn't say that word. And the left went crazy. Oh my God, look, Trump can't say, he went aceta, and JFK behind him had acetaminophen. I'm sorry. He goes, acetaminophen. It sounds like, dude, he sounds like it's painful when he talks, but seriously, acetaminophen. And then he goes, oh yeah, acetaminophen. And the left loses their shit. Oh my God, he can't talk. He can't pronounce a word. Meanwhile, their president couldn't pronounce hello. But he could say, I peed myself. They didn't care about that. But they make fun of him because he can't say acetaminophen. It's not an easy word to say. It's easier to say Tylenol, but this is Trump.
Doctors behind me were there. I told them this is what we have to find out. Because when you go from 20,000 to 10,000 and then you go to 12, there's something artificial. They're taking something. And by the way, I think I can say that there are certain groups of people that don't take vaccines and don't take any pills that have no autism. Does that tell you something? That's currently, is that a correct statement, by the way?
There are some studies that suggest that, yeah, with the Amish, for example.
The Amish, yeah, virtually. I heard none. See, Bobby wants to be very careful with what he says, and he should, but I'm not so careful with what I say. But you have certain groups. The Amish, as an example, they have essentially no autism. First effective...
Well, let me tell you something about the Amish. We wouldn't know if they had no autism because we don't know if they lock them into basement cellars or any of that stuff. People back then used to take their crazy, and sorry, that's what they called them back in the day. They were crazy. They didn't know they were possessed by demons and shit. That's a technology that we had back then. And they would lock them in different rooms. So, I mean, quoting the Amish, but apparently they have tested the Amish. Apparently they have tested other areas. So this is going to be interesting. It's something I pulled up. Now, I believe this is accurate. This is, if you look at it, this is the autism map. If you look at Canada and America, we are absolutely flooded with autism. Then when you look at the rest of the countries, they are not. And what's the difference? Some areas, they don't use Tylenol because they can't afford it. Other areas, who knows? Are they living different? Do they have different practices during labor? Do they have different food standards? We know this is going on. We know it's a multifaceted event as far as that's concerned. But this is Trump also on the Hep B vaccine. Now, a lot of you guys know that I just had a baby and he did not get the Hep B vaccine. And it's for the reasons that he cited now. So again, am I going to forgive the people that shoved all this stuff? Actually, let me play this one first. This is Trump on vaccines. This is about 2 minutes.
Smaller doses, and you spread it out over a period of years. And they pump so much stuff into those beautiful little babies. It's a disgrace. I don't see it. I think it's very bad. They're pumping, it looks like they're pumping into a horse. You have a little fragile child, and you get a vat of 80 different vaccines, I guess, 80 different blends, and they pump it in. So ideally, a woman won't take Tylenol. And on the vaccines, it would be good instead of one visit where they pump the baby, load it up with stuff, you'll do it over a period of 4 times or 5 times.
So I cut that a little bit short because I think does that make sense to you? It makes sense to me. I don't understand why my son, theoretically, because every time we have taken him to the doctor's office, just so we're clear, every time we take him to the doctor's office, we have to sign a waiver waiving the vaccines. Now, basically every time we have went back to the doctor, they would have been sticking him with something and multiple things. Measles, mumps, rubella. That's something that Donald Trump said that he wants to see him separated. What is the harm of giving 3 different separate shots spread out over a longer period of time instead of having these combo jammies? And he was talking about things that cause no harm, things that have possibly only upside. We have to start doing, and we have to start doing fast. And this is the Hep B.
B is sexually transmitted. There's no reason to give a baby that's almost just born hepatitis B. So I would say wait till the baby is 12 years old and formed and take hepatitis B. And I think
wait till the baby is 12 years old and formed to take hepatitis B. Doesn't that make a hell of a lot more sense than a newborn? If the mother doesn't have anything, the father doesn't have anything, are you giving the newborn 3 Hep B shots before 6 months old? To me, this type of stuff seems like it's very, very, very basic. Now, this is what RFK went on to say about it. I have a couple with RFK, but it actually looks like we're running a little bit over. So I'll cut some of these guys. But this is RFK on vaccines.
Finally, autism is a complex disorder with multifactorial etiology. We are continuing to investigate a multiplicity of potential causes with no areas of taboo. One area that we are closely examining, as the president mentioned, is vaccines. Some 40 to 70% of mothers who have children with autism believe that their child was injured by a vaccine. President Trump believes that we should be listening to these mothers instead of gaslighting and marginalizing them like prior administrations. Some of our friends like to say that we should believe all women. But some of these same people have been silencing and demonizing these mothers for 3 decades because research on the potential link between autism and vaccines has been actively suppressed in the past. It will take time for an honest look at this topic by scientists.
It will take time, an honest look at this topic from a scientist. And I love what he did there. We say believe all women, but how many women said, I gave my kid a vaccine and I watched my child disappear? There's so many people that say it. Listen, there's a very prominent MMA figure, Nick Catone. Him and his wife have that story. I pass a big mural dedicated to that boy. Healthy boy, gets a shot, and now he's no longer with us. And the interesting thing is they have been attacked for coming out and saying that stuff. People have attacked them for saying, no, that's not what happened. But that's the interesting part, because you have a mother saying, this is what happened to my child. And you have people saying, no, shut up, sit down. It had nothing to do with what we injected into your child. And the interesting part about it is you have people like Andy Kim, you have people that are on the left that are immediately coming out and saying, oh, there's no science to support. There's no science to support this acetaminophen stuff. And this is horrible. This is what happens when you fire everybody that does real science. It's like, hold on. The people that were there brought us these exploding autism numbers. These people that have been there have poisoned us. These people that have been there have let these companies put this garbage in our food, these chemicals in our food, these food dyes that apparently all they needed was RFK coming in saying, stop it. And all of them could switch just like that. The scientists, the people that we had faith in to circle back completely, like Jen Psaki would say, those are the people that he fired, but they are the ones that are the smartest people in the world that have been poisoning us and poisoning our kids and getting our kids addicted to the industrial medical complex as a baby. From the second they come out of the womb, they are getting injected with the medical industrial complex, and nobody has a problem with this. The best part about it is I think there's a lot of people that have a problem with it. But I Googled this, ready? I Googled the Tylenol situation. And this is what it says. This is what Google says. Scientific evidence does not establish that Tylenol causes autism. While some observational studies have shown an association between frequent acetaminophen use during pregnancy and higher rates of autism diagnosis, the most robust research indicates that this link is not causal. And this is what it goes on to say. Confounding factors, what the evidence says. A large 2024 study of 2.5 million children in Sweden initially found a very small statistical association between acetaminophen use during pregnancy and a child's risk of autism. However, when researchers performed a sibling analysis comparing siblings from the same mother, where one was exposed to the medication, one was not, the association disappeared completely. And then you have, where was number two? Maybe, there you go. There's three. And then this one, the genetic predispositions. The sibling analysis revealed that other factors like genetics likely explain the original association. For instance, a mother's genetic predisposition for autism or ADHD may also make her more likely to experience this stuff. The interesting part about that is we have a whole hell of a lot of genetic research, but they have not proved what genetic links mothers have in their system that create this autism or autism possibility. And if it was purely genetic, you would think that it wouldn't just start in like 1990 or 2000. Right? Why would, if it was genetic, unless we are so poorly contaminated and so horrifically contaminated as a gene pool that it finally started biting themselves on the ass, I find that ridiculous. I don't know. I don't buy the genetic link a lot of the times. Yes, in certain occasions, yes, I think there's specific genes that do this, obviously. But we do know that we can induce certain DNA and certain RNA. I don't know. Very interesting. Let's see anybody in the chat. The real Michael Goins says, stop processed food, get back to family farms, bring back farming to the USA. My uncle is a Croatian, doesn't eat how we learn to eat. He's healthy like a horse. We sell cereal for convenience and Pop-Tarts. Coach Patterson says, I will not support an anti-Pop-Tart campaign. Thank you. Thank you very much. Six Design says, much like Death Jab, there was no need for healthy people to even think about taking it, much like a child. You are not bullshit. And the real Michael Goins says, shit, I had cancer at 30, and I'm the second person in my high school graduation that had testicular cancer. Interesting. You got to wonder if it is from some of the vaccines. Coach Patterson said he isn't completely off his rocker. Avoiding excess medication and vaccinations may mitigate the genetic factor along with diet and other things. Yes, listen. One thing we know about people is we are very different human beings. Our genes react differently to different things. Take weed, for example. Weed gets some people a certain way and turns some people a totally different way. It's the same concept with coffee. Some people wires coffee. I know people who drink coffee and it puts them to sleep. It's a very weird. Our bodies do not operate. We are not one size fits all. These are the things that I hope that we start getting to, and I hope that we start questioning. Because when we just take this blindly trust the science shit, it's absolutely ridiculous. So let's get to some breaking news really quick. Jimmy Kimmel is back on.
Back on the air tomorrow. ABC says in a statement that we made the decision last week to suspend production to avoid further inflaming a tense situation at an emotional moment. But now, after having thoughtful conversations with Jimmy, the ABC says we reached the decision to return the show on Tuesday. Okay.
Having a thoughtful conversation with Jimmy, we reached the decision to bring him back on Thursday. So did they cave, or what was that? Because everyone says his ratings were horrible and all this stuff, but did they cave? Did they have enough of an outpouring of support for him? You know, the wonderful left that were celebrating, some of the wonderful left that was celebrating Charlie Kirk's funeral were more pissed off over Jimmy Kimmel losing his job than Charlie Kirk losing his life. But maybe they complain louder than the people that wanted them off the air. I guess anti-cancel culture at work? I don't know. Very interesting. I also woke up to these. This is interesting. An Israeli drone strike. Check this out. Israeli drone strike kills 5 people, including 3 children in southern Lebanon, that health officials say. Now, let's go through this, because the way it was originally brought to me was that 3 Americans died in the blast. That is still up in the air. I'm not going to report that at this time, but officials are saying different things. Let me take you through it. The Israeli military said it was targeted a Hezbollah militant and that he operated within a civilian population, acknowledged that civilians were killed and that they were reviewing the incident. The IDF is operating against the Hezbollah terrorist organization and will continue to act to remove any threat posed to the state of Israel, the statement said. Israeli frequently says it's targeting Hezbollah militants or infrastructure in tiny countries. Hezbollah has only claimed fire across the border once since the ceasefire. Now, Israeli military said it had struck and eliminated a Hezbollah operator in the southern town of Bet Jebel, I guess. I have no idea how you say that, but acknowledged that several uninvolved citizens were also killed in the strike. The IDF regrets any harm to uninvolved individuals and operates to minimize harm as much as possible. The incident is under review. Now, Lebanon Speaker of the Parliament, Nabih Berri, I guess. I have no idea. Once again, I am not the best at saying these guys' names. Claimed in a statement Sunday that 4 U.S. citizens, a father, and 3 of his children were among those killed. Lebanese Foreign Minister Youssef Raji said the mother of an American family was injured and in critical condition. However, U.S. State Department spokesperson disputed the claim. While the situation is fluid so far, indications are that 5 were killed. Now, listen, I've talked about this. First off, why is Israel going in now into Lebanon and Syria and bombing the shit out of them too, just because they're fighting Hezbollah? If you notice, they have Jewish settlements in Syria and in Lebanon. And I was saying that when do they start going into there so they can claim that as their territory as well? I mean, everybody has to pay attention to really what is going on here. And now what's this one? Is this another one? Nope, that's Emmanuel Macron. Sorry. Here's this one. The Lebanese state-run NWA report that a drone had fired 2 missiles at a motorcycle and a Mercedes car. In the car, the father and his children were killed. The motorcyclist was the apparent target of the strike, and he was also killed. So I've asked this a bunch of times, and I'm going to ask it again because I think it's worth asking. Israel lost women and children and people on October 7th. How many people and how many more children, innocent children, do they get to continually kill and say sorry, or half the time not even say sorry? Yeah, we did it, but we were going after these people. Haven't they killed enough kids? Haven't they killed enough people? When is enough enough? Because if it does come out that they killed actually 4 Americans, who am I to believe? The Lebanon people? The Lebanon government? I don't know who the fuck they are. Or my government saying, no, Israel didn't do that when they have been covering for Israel every step of the way. But if Israel struck a target and there was 4 American citizens and 3 children, and they killed all 4 of them, and the mother's probably going to die too, that's 5 Americans. You would hope that our politicians would go as crazy as this, as they did with honestly Charlie Kirk, honestly the school shootings, honestly the woman who got stabbed on the neck on the bus. I hope we find out, and I'm going to follow up on it. If they really killed 5 Americans, somebody better be held accountable for this over there in Israel, because that is honestly going to piss me off. The Macrons to offer scientific evidence. This is hold on. Oh man, I didn't set this one up properly. Oh man, so because Candace Owens came out full bore on Emmanuel Macron's wife is a dude, they're suing her. So Candace Owens says, all right, yeah, I'm going to make you submit to a biological exam. So the Macron says, oh yeah, we'll do you one better. We're going to offer scientific evidence to the U.S. crew to prove that Brigitte is a woman. And what is that scientific evidence? Well, they're planning to present photographic and scientific evidence to the U.S. court to prove that Mrs. Macron is, in fact, a woman. It's like, listen, you see this? This is called inner and this is called outer labia. That proves that she's, is that what we're doing here? Is Brigitte going to spread him in court? Or are they just going to spread him in the bedroom and take porn and bring porn pictures of Brigitte to court? This is where we're at. This is the fucking insanity of where we are at. Oh my God. It's absolutely hysterical. Let's get to this one. France now recognizes, I guess, once they recognized what a vagina is and they proved what a woman is by by bringing Brigitte Macron up there and says, look, this is what woman parts are. We proved that. What is a woman? It's Brigitte Macron. They're also going to recognize Palestine as a state amid widespread over Israel's conduct in the Gaza war. And they weren't alone. In a big shift, you had Canada, you had a lot of different countries say that's it. Palestine needs a place. We're admitting that, and you guys can go fuck yourself. This is from CNN. You gotta love this. The U.S. veers towards Christian nationalism. It's funny they don't talk about Muslim nationalism or Jewish nationalism. It's only Christian nationalism that has a bad connotation to it. To me, I don't like. You guys know where I stand. I don't like religion and politics being mixed at all. But I have no more water. Look at that. Completely out of water for this show. I sucked it down today. But we are basically right there. Let me see if I have anything else. Let me play one thing, because this was very interesting. New Jersey, the state of New Jersey, the gubernatorial debate was last night. And both of these people said something that was incredible. They got a question on what could they do to combat the segregated schools problem that we have in New Jersey. And amazingly, both candidates admitted that it took place.
We do have the most segregated schools, but I wonder if we would be having this discussion if the performance of schools with predominantly black student populations were outperforming schools with predominantly white populations.
I think what you just heard is a very clear difference. I care deeply about our school system, and I'm going to make sure it performs better. I'm going to make sure that we're educating children for the future, especially with AI coming. But I'm also going to attack the segregation that we have going on in the state.
I'm going to make sure. That's what Mikey Sherrill said the entire night. I'm going to make sure that this happens. Just trust me, because I'm a pilot and I'm a mother. But she's going to make sure that we stop the segregation in the state. This is New Jersey. This is apparently the bastion of liberalness, the bastion of the melting pot. And we have the most segregated schools? How does that happen? You know, it's funny. I had one of my, basically coach baseball. This kid, he's kind of like a third, fourth son to me. You know what I'm saying? But he was talking about his school in Alabama, that segregation is alive and well. That certain people hang out with certain groups of people and other groups hang out with certain groups of people, and it is 100% racially, religiously, completely segregated. Now, I've been complaining about that stuff in New Jersey for a really long time, because I think there's populations that willingly segregate themselves. And I guarantee you, Mikey Sherrill and Jack Chittarelli, they were sucking up to that group. So they ain't going to go after that group for segregation. So how do you go after segregation in our schools? How do you do it? Low-income housing, put low-income housing everywhere and move everybody into some of these areas? Is that how it's done? It's very interesting. Oh, by the way, both of them last night said that they were for forced vaccines in kids to go to school based on something they call herd immunity, which is just, it's very interesting that vaccinated kids are afraid of unvaccinated kids. I thought it should be the other way around. Why is it that the unvaccinated kids aren't afraid of the vaccinated kids? Makes no sense to me, but what are you going to do? Last comments in the chat. Let's get to you guys. Six Design says a simple DNA test is all that is required. She probably thinks her surgeon did a good enough job and that nobody could tell. Jake Alice says, screw those savages. I don't care about the people who are terrorists. Fuck them. Yeah, you're not even playing around. Yankee 68 says, not my circus, not my monkeys. Tired of fighting with these people. They'll never stop in thousands of years, for fuck's sake. That's the truth, man. These people, they're not going to stop unless we force them to stop. But people just allow this to take place. These people are expanding, and this is what they are doing. And they are just willy-nilly killing everybody. And if you ask me, it absolutely needs to stop. Coach Patterson says you can't stop segregation in New Jersey. You aren't desegregating neighborhoods. And he says Queens, New York is the most segregated place you will ever see. Yankee 68 says they want to combine all the area schools, Lakewood, Toms River, Brick, and others. Yes, they want to do that. And that's another thing that Mikey Sherrill said, and I'll touch on that really fast. She said that she wanted to make regional school districts. And one of the things that came out was that she wanted to take Toms River, Brick, Jackson, and Lakewood and combine them into the greater Lakewood school district. Now, here's the problem with that. Brick has been fiscally responsible. Lakewood owes $265 million. Jackson is closing up schools. They're in a fiscal hole, and a lot of it's from the state. And Toms River has a lot of their problems because they spent money on a whole bunch of different things. They had a school referendum, and then when they took their COVID money, they didn't fire their people. They didn't do some of the things that Brick did, and Brick is actually way more fiscally responsible than everybody. So if all of a sudden we combine them, it's going to take the individuality, A, away from us, but B, it's going to push all of Lakewood's debt onto us, onto Brick taxpayers, onto Toms River taxpayers. And I'll be damned if that piece of shit gets in office and tries to force Brick taxpayers to take on the absolute ludicrous, corrupt, disgusting nature that was just proven in court of what's going on with the Lakewood schools. It is absolutely disgusting. And I got to tell you something, people in New Jersey, you should be appalled that she's even talking about that. But listen, guys, I really appreciate you. We had a huge chat tonight. I love every single one of you guys. If you could kindly take that finger, bunch of everybody that was in there, and finger the fuck out of my like button, I would appreciate it. My like button loves being fingered by you. And you know what else loves the fingering? Finger the share button. All you have to do is finger it and say, everybody check this out. If you could do that for me, that goes a long way of getting me in the algorithms. You guys have done it for me before. I'm hoping you could do it again. And I will be your voice of reason. Whether you want to hear it or not, I'm going to give you the voice of reason, guys. We are the Caltrop, and I tell you this all the time. Be your own Caltrop. Do not take any titles or any headlines and think you know what you're talking about. Do not take what the media gives you as truth. Don't give what anybody gives you as truth without fully thinking about it, all the angles, all the variables. And if you do that, you are going to be able to decipher the bullshit from the reality. And trust me, it is very hard sometimes. Be a Caltrop in your own mind, guys. I'm going to be a Caltrop for you. I will watch the endless garbage. I will sift through the trash, the far left, the far right, the middle, and I will bring you the God's honest truth and the way I see all this taking place. Because, guys, listen, I respect you enough to do that. And I respect you enough not to try to hitch my name to some guy's death and not to play all the dirty, disgusting things that other people do. So I appreciate you being with me. I appreciate you sharing the show. And most of all, I would appreciate it if you join me Wednesday. I think the real Michael Goins is going to be here Wednesday. Maybe this Wednesday, maybe the Wednesday after that. I have to check my text message. But we're to get into him, and he has an amazing story. Similar to a buddy of mine's, only on a different angle. But we remember Ryan Lawrence, American Pegasus back in the day, talking about redemption coming through drugs. We're going to be talking about redemption coming through a lot of adversity, hitting adversity. And when adversity smacks you in the face, what are you going to do to overcome it? Stay tuned for that, because that's going to be awesome. So thank you guys very much. This Caltrop is out. Later.